Was it all a dream or was it real? We're talking Lance, Dr. Drew, and Lil' Kim tonight, and there are scandals and secrets galore. It's the Hollywood Medium Season 2 finale. Back in a moment.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
You know what I'm saying? It's all good, baby.
Well, it's a little different vibe for us tonight. But season 2 of Hollywood Medium is complete. It was not, in fact, a dream. It happened.
It's real.
It was a long, real, emotional season.
Oh my gosh.
And we're back with a full panel tonight. And this might be the most shocking episode in terms of whatever we just witnessed.
Yeah.
I'm living for it.
We're ready to
I was
talk.
like, is E! News gonna have the exclusive on who shot Biggie? I was like, is this?
And of course,
is this
we
gonna
had
be
to
the
get through so
platform?
many commercial breaks
Yeah.
to find out the answer to that question. So we're gonna dive right in. I want our panel to introduce themselves. Our full panel, once again, here to dish on the finale with all of you.
Hey everyone, I am Mina Wahab. You can't find me on social media right now. I'm taking a quick break from Instagram, but you can actually still follow me on Twitter. Mina Makes Magic.
Hey AfterBuzzers, Russell Ray here. You can find me on Instagram at Russell Ray Silva or the Russell Ray on Twitter with underscore in between the words.
Hey guys, it's Drew Jones, and you can follow me on all social media at OKDrewJ.
I like your handle.
Thanks.
Okay, Drew J. And I'm Stephen Lovegrove. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dr. Lovegrove. Not to be confused with Dr. Drew, who we'll get to in a little while. Actually, Andrew is my middle name.
I confuse you guys all the time.
I confuse
so.
myself too.
Yeah.
So overall thoughts on the finale. What did you guys think of this episode?
I actually really like the guests a lot.
They were
Yeah.
all
It was
interesting
all
and different.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like legit excited about this episode because I was like, I know who all these people are, and I like all these people.
And they're
I'm not
interesting. They all
Yeah.
have their own personality. They're not like, hope this revives my career. Like, we already know them
Yeah.
and care about them.
disappointed. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about. I'm so excited. I'm so excited about this.
I like the episodes when we have opinions. Not just like, oh, that was sweet or oh, that was emotional, but we have opinions. And I think we have opinions
And
tonight.
we have
we do.
questions.
Questions.
Oh.
Sometimes people leave with more questions than answers. Was it that kind of night? I
think
feel like it
yeah,
was
I have
for the
all-
viewer.
I have all the
Yes.
questions.
Well, we're going to dive in
Yes.
with I guess the least dramatic reading first, going to the most dramatic, which you know they put that at the end for a reason.
course.
Of
Yes.
all
Why
things to
wouldn't?
put at the end of a season. So we started out with Lance Bass, and Lance brings his bestie in for the reading, which is Jamie-lynn Sigler, who we know from The Sopranos.
Yes.
And I don't remember. Tyler knew Lance. Is that our
Yes.
assumption? I don't think they
There's
explicitly
no
said
way
it.
Tyler Henry watched The Sopranos though, growing up.
But, right. I
There's
think
no
he knew
way.
Lance, but
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
Jamie-lynn.
he didn't recognize
Yeah.
her.
So they come in and they actually use the word seances. I don't know that we've had someone we've had people who are open. I don't know if we've had someone that was outright like,
Right.
oh, I've been attending seances.
I mean, he said he does seances.
He
not
leads them.
personally, but does he lead them, do you think? I think he just engages like very much so on a regular basis.
But if he does, I will pay to be a part. Like, you know how you can go on Backstreet Boy cruises? I will pay to be a part of an NSYNC
An
seance.
NSYNC seance? No,
For
I
a
don't
Western
think I don't think a seance is just like you're in communication with them. I think that's a structured thing. Like I think
Yeah.
that's a ritual you're doing.
No, it is.
Right. So this is some legit, like, they're into this stuff.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is they said no one has ever really given them validation before. Like, of all the mediums and psychics and seances, it's always been a very mediocre experience until tonight. What are you guys' thoughts on this reading?
Well, that's been recurring through the whole entire episode today. Like, Dr. Drew said the same thing.
That's
Same
true.
thing. He was
No one
surrounded
has
by some as
convinced
well.
him yet of all the many psychics that Susan has apparently brought in, which I just find hilarious for
Yeah.
some reason.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm convinced with Tyler, like 100%. Like, it's to the point now where like he'll say something and their face expressions are like so surprised. I'm like, why are you surprised? Like, he told you he's the real deal.
At this point, especially. Right.
Like 2 seasons in, like, okay, he's legit.
So we'll start with Lance, and then we'll move to Jamie. Ironically, Lance, I think, brought Jamie kind of for support, but then the whole reading
Was about her.
was really about
Unless
her.
his stuff
She
got cut out
upstaged.
in post-production.
She
that
pulled a
gets
Justin
lost.
Timberlake.
That's true. Do you think it was an instance of maybe Lance's stuff was personal, so we just got the details?
Possibly.
Maybe it had to do with the NSYNC reunion that is bound to happen one day, and Justin was like, "Hey, Lance, don't put that on E." That's what I would like to think.
I don't think it was.
Don't crush my dreams, man.
This is a great
No.
fan theory, though.
But what he said was when I walked in, I got the immediate vibe to go straight to Jamie. I mean, of course he has something to say about Lance.
And that
but
no, and
it's
that is
gone.
the truth is he can't control what comes through.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're hoping to hear from somebody and they don't really show up, whoops. And on the flip side, if the time gets consumed by one person, well, it is what it is. I don't know. So all we got with Lance is that they're starting a family, his husband's side, the Florida connection, and I'm so happy about that. Like, what a sweet thing to have affirmed for him.
I love it.
Babies, babies, babies.
I don't think it was like shocking news making.
Like,
I didn't
story.
know.
Actually, maybe it was a headline because Lance said he'd only told his very close
Yeah.
friends. So there you go. Lance Bass is starting a family with his husband.
Do you think they'll have play dates with Justin Timberlake's little boy?
Oh,
That
would
be
actually be
adorable.
great.
I don't know. That'd be really
Yeah.
cool.
Because I think Justin Timberlake's wedding photos and family and everything is constantly just gorgeous and adorable.
Oh, of course.
So that just sounds dream Hollywood family life.
I just
Although
really,
it feels like a random pairing, like Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel. I like them both. It just feels
I've been here for it.
really random.
You've
about
been
it?
here for NSYNC
Yeah.
long before this
Let me tell you
reading,
something.
clearly.
Yeah, they were my first ever big concert. I got to meet them backstage. It was everything, and ever since then, I will never stop. Stop it.
You were really in spirit in the room with Lance for
Some
this
would
reading.
say I was in sync with Lance.
I see what you did there. Okay, well, so
he hates it so much.
I don't hate
You're
it.
like, okay.
So, okay, but we do need to talk about Jamie because that's where the bulk of
Yeah.
the reading was. And I really did love this family connection, just overall. I mean, I love when Tyler gets to the house and there's already somebody coming through. And there was a little bit of, was there a little bit of somebody else at the beginning? Or was it all Adam? I guess it was all Adam. I got confused. I thought there was a grandma, but then the grandma was Lil' Kim.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was all Adam.
It was all, so what consumed this reading was her brother Adam, which makes sense because Tyler said he comes through as a figure that likes to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
So he was in this reading. What did you guys remember? What stood out to you from this reading?
The dragonflies.
Oh, yeah, that was my
The
favorite.
Dragonflies. Has it ever happened to you where you like have an experience where someone passes and then they always say, "What is it? Hummingbirds was mine."
Yeah.
With what person or relative or figure?
With both my grandma and my grandpa.
Oh.
Wow.
Just like
Wow.
it was a dream the night before, and like he said, all dreams are not just perception. It's like technically who says it's not to happen. So I had these two dreams. One of my grandfather when he passed. One of my grandmother when she passed. The very following day, it was a hummingbird, both times following me around. So I totally related on that level. Has it happened to you guys?
I've had like raccoons follow me around. But I've also had this scary.
Don't laugh. That might be her sign.
No, it's not. It's not like a sign of someone who's passed. It's just when I was a kid, my dad used to tell me these like random stories about this raccoon that would go on adventures, and he would like make jokes, like even in adulthood, like, "Hey, he's keeping tabs on you." And one day I was walking to my friend's house, and I saw this raccoon literally following me, and I freaked out. I was like, "What's going on?" Where I would keep seeing raccoons in college, like following me.
It was the snacks in your pocket, girl.
It
That's
was
what
no, it was just so random, and they kind of like, yeah, they're kind of scary. I mean, I love raccoons, but they're kind of scary. I feel like they'd attack you.
But to answer, yes, when my Nana passed away, her name was Iris, and we kept like at my mom's house and at like my apartment when I moved out here, like irises kept growing in places that like I asked my landlord, I was like, "Oh, I didn't know you guys like planted irises in the front garden." They're like, "We don't plant anything in the front garden."
No.
And I was like so freaked out, and I like called my aunt because my aunt's like super spiritual about that stuff, and she was just like, "That's your Nana, that's her." And I was like, all right.
I always wonder
take
how
it.
much of life is coincidences, like, or if it's just something.
But they didn't, Mina. They
I
didn't
know.
plant
They
anything.
Didn't
I
plant
think-
it. And
I
irises
think-
aren't something that just
Crazy.
randomly grow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think
That's
it's
true.
just cute blessings that come
Yeah.
our way. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my gosh.
And I feel like they always pop up when you need to see them.
And it's the closure
yeah.
that you want and
Because
you
you're like,
need.
okay, you're good. You're good to go.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be good.
So one of mine is, it's kind of a little different, but mine would be like a symbol of a crown anywhere, because I'm named after a baby that lived less than 24 hours and was supposed to be my dad's little brother. And actually, when I did a medium reading, he did come through. But
Oh, wow.
I was named after him, and the name means crown, and so I see crowns. That's mine.
I love that.
Not raccoons.
Yeah, not raccoons.
Mina, it is season 2 finale. It is time for
I
you to be
know.
a full-on believer. What do you
I
guys
feel
think?
like
Don't you
I'm-
think it's time for Mina to just full-on believe?
Commit.
I am
Bring
pretty
it on.
much like the Dr. Drew of Tyler Henry Hollywood media.
But
I'm the
Dr.
skeptic.
He
I'm
left.
the skeptic.
He left the season, the episode,
believer.
believing.
But didn't you? Okay, if you paid attention to his facial expressions, he looked so annoyed for some reason.
I
like
think he was
looked
annoyed because
so
science couldn't prove
irritated.
what was going on.
I think that's exactly it.
Possibly that's true.
I think he's a believer, man.
So you're a complete 100% skeptic.
I'm not a 100% skeptic. I think like this stuff is beautiful. There's a part of me that questions things. I don't just take everything in and consume everything and say yes, this is fact.
Okay.
Like I don't.
I
always
don't
do
just
that.
consume everything in as fact.
I don't.
Especially not TMZ. But
Don't
back
throw shade at me.
back to Adam coming through. So this brain aneurysm. So okay, what a weird, like, it's funny because after this reading, we had the conversation in the car about, do you ever get awkward information? And Charlie being like, do you ever get anything sexual? Do you ever get anything embarrassing or
I
that's
love that
awkward to say?
question.
Which is actually a very interesting conversation to have.
Yeah.
I felt so awkward watching this whole thing about there was a brain aneurysm and
Yeah,
he was
the
in a compromising
compromise,
position. I was just like, this is I mean,
Yeah.
it came through, but what did you guys think? I felt so
I kept
awkward.
wondering what was that, like, what was the compromising position? Obviously, they would never say that on TV if she specifically
I was like,
had
if
a
he was-
closed casket.
But if he
Too
was
much.
like unclothed or something, what I don't understand is whatever the compromising position was, why couldn't they resolve it? But you know what I mean? Like, don't they dress? I'm not, it's a morbid topic, but it's Hollywood media. But like, for a funeral, don't they prepare the body and dress them and whatever for the casket? They don't just
They do,
throw
but
them
your
in.
body does also go stiff after a certain point.
I was wondering if like the brain aneurysm did something with like face muscles went out of control or something, and it was like his face was stiff and some weird like uncomfortable.
Oh my god,
face
that's
expression.
so terrible.
Well, because I was trying to think what would make sense, and that's
Well, and I feel weird hyper-analyzing it. It's just they
Yeah.
spent so much
Yeah, they
time
spent a
on
lot
it
of
in the
time on it.
episode that it makes me wonder.
Well, they mentioned
Yeah.
it was in the forehead. It was in a compromising position. He positioned like this, and then she said he hit his head when he fell. So I mean, like
So
he
maybe
could have
he
he
had,
could
like,
have
a
conked
gash
his
or
head like
something?
on the corner of a table or like of a counter, and it could have left a hole or like a huge gash in his head.
yeah.
Like no one wants to see. Like you can. There's makeup to a certain extent, but like I know this from experience. When you see someone who's been in such a tragic event like that, and they try to reconstruct the face or with anything like molding clay, it's not the same. It's not that person.
Yeah.
So you don't want to see it. So that's why she evidently
I
said
kept-
that we have the closed casket.
I kept thinking it was like an embarrassing position, the way she said it. Almost like it wasn't like gruesome.
I
it was-
thought so too, but it
Yeah.
didn't make sense
Yeah.
to me. I was like, anything involving sex or nudity
That's
or
what
anything
I
could have been
thought. That's what
resolved
I
for the
thought.
funeral and the casket.
Yeah.
Just a strange detail.
Yeah.
Of all details
That
on this
makes
show,
sense.
I was like, what an odd.
But they spent a lot of time on.
And and I don't feel bad talking about it. A, because it's what we do on an after show, but B, because they edited it in. And
Yeah.
we've talked about, we were talking earlier tonight, the Kardashian Jenner readings often feel very edited. And if they do not want it on air about their family, it doesn't
it
go on
out,
air.
yeah.
So anyway, okay, this is what resonated with me about the Adam part though, is this phone call thing. And that he had
Oh.
called her and he wanted to pick up. So that just haunted me because I lost a friend in high school and he had sent me a Facebook message that I had never replied to. And this weird thing kicks in where you're like, Well, in this instance, I don't know if she explicitly thought it's my fault that he passed, but this weird thing kicks in of just, I should have been there. I should have
Like
done
you could have changed
more.
it.
I should have, even though logically you're like, no, I probably couldn't
Yeah.
have. But it's just a weird guilt thing. So I thought it was absolutely beautiful that he came through and just said he knew that you loved him, and it's all. I just thought it was one of the most
That was
beautiful
the part I
closure
was
moments.
so confused about, though, because there, like, I guess he had said something like, I need a ride from the train station. How would he be in like that in that compromising situation then? Like, there must have been a lot of time that elapsed from the time he found a ride home to, like, she probably didn't respond to him for a while is what I'm trying to say.
I think
Like, she
he
let, like, a
texted
day
her
pass or
Yeah,
something.
the day before, and then she found out the next day that something
Yeah.
happened. So I'm assuming he probably did get home and then.
I don't
something
think
happened.
it was. I don't think it was like a. If she had given him the ride, it wouldn't have
Yeah.
happened.
It would have
But
still
that's-
happened, probably.
Right, and that's why I'm bringing up. I don't think that it's a literal, like they said, I'm too drunk to drive, and then something happened. I don't think it was a literal, you could have stopped it.
No,
I think
no,
she just
no.
feels weird because it was
Like
the
she-
last phone call,
Yeah.
last person he talked to.
And I like the statement that Tyler Henry made when he said, it's okay, like, there's nothing you could have done, and even if you said you loved him, he already knows you love him. You don't have to say that to him. He already knows how much you love him.
That
and
is
it's so
powerful for
evident.
people
Yeah.
who
It is.
aren't happy with what their last words were.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought that was really powerful.
I thought it was really interesting because right before I moved out here, a really good friend of mine from high school passed away, and I was lucky enough to have had a conversation with him like a day or two before, and we had a really good conversation, but the whole thing just made me make a point to like always say like I love you or whatever before I get off the phone with somebody, or like even if I'm mad at somebody, like trying to like let the last words be like at least semi-decent, because say something
You
does
don't want to
happen.
leave it there.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't want to
Yeah.
leave it like that.
Well, this reading wrapped up so beautifully with Tyler saying people always hear what they need to hear. And for Lance, in this instance, that was a message about the future. And for Jamie-lynn, in this instance, that was a message about the past, of closure, and a beautiful reading. And now we move on to Dr. Drew.
Such a Delph.
Yes. Wasn't expecting. I thought you were going to say the skeptic or
That
such a
too.
skeptic. And
Skeptical.
then we went in another direction.
Skeptical.
Drew took us in another direction with Dr. Drew.
They were a hot couple.
They
like
were.
that's hot
They
couple
were.
goals.
I don't know what she does, but I do feel like in the dynamic, power couple dynamic.
Yes.
And honestly, I give them so much props. I mean, he should be able to help them navigate this in theory, but for them to disagree on something like that, it reminds me of like the X-Files pairing of like a believer and a skeptic and how it can make for like a cool dynamic.
Yeah.
For them to disagree but agree to disagree and kind of do it in a fun, playful way, props to them
And
for that.
it's so weird
That's
to me just because Dr. Drew's entire identity is like based on this whole thing where he's a scientist, he's a doctor, everything requires empirical evidence. So how is your identity so wrapped in that, and then you marry someone who is very different from that? It's so weird because he
Because
takes pride in
sometimes
being that
opposites
way.
attract.
They do, but that's
Totally.
such a huge part of his identity. It's a part of his work, it's a part of how he believes, how he thinks. So it's just so interesting that you would be attracted to and drawn to someone
Well,
opposite.
maybe she's his escape from that. It's like being a comedian, and you don't want to marry another comedian like that's just as powerful as you are, because who's going to be the center of attention, right? Like, wouldn't that take away from your relationship as a
I
comedian?
don't like. I'm the funny one.
Exactly. It's like laugh at my
I
jokes.
mean, you can be funny too, but like
I need someone funny though.
I'm funnier.
And
I'm funny.
I think sometimes you just want to break. I think that's a very good point.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to date another coach. I don't want that. I don't want us to be in a fight. And you'd be like, no, where else in your life are you doing this? Hell no. Absolutely not. But also, I just think that there's points where science reaches a limit and there's things that are unexplained. And I think that, the most logical, analytical, scientific people in the world there's still things that they can't, like, for example, if you have a terminal illness and you know that you're dying, doesn't matter what you know about death and the human body and consciousness and all of that stuff. There's still a part of you that's like, should I be worried? Do I need to be worried? What's next? Is there something next? Does this, like, I just think that, I don't know. I think it makes sense. But I love their dynamic. And we start out with Susan's father coming through. And Tyler says there's a newness. They haven't completely finished grieving yet. What did you guys think about this reading as a whole? What did you guys think about?
It was interesting just because he painted a very detailed picture of the house that he was describing, how it was right next to a creek or a body of water.
Which, how would you guess that with a beach house? How many beach houses have creeks? No, I thought about that. I was like, that's not a
sarcastic right now.
No, because he said there was a creek to the side, and I wouldn't get a beach normally has sand and like a shore and then the ocean. So a creek is not something I would guess for a beach house.
So that's why Dr. Drew, like, I kept wondering if they cut to Dr. Drew's facial expression where he's like, what? Like, where his eyebrows kind of raised. I was like, was that like a cut into that to show that this was
Possibly.
an amazing read?
I think it was needed, though, for that to be so specific so that he could, like, be prepared for his reading about his dad. Like, I think he needed to be, like, prepped that, okay, this guy's the real deal before they got to, like, his...
Good point.
His dad.
And this really was a scandalous episode because we got personal. And when Jack came through... a message came through about prostate cancer. And I was like, this is personal. And Mina pointed out that was not the most, like, private of the details, because I think Dr. Drew has talked about that. But honestly, if I had any kind of serious health issue, you know, you can't control what comes through, but I would really hope to get a reassuring message.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I know in Europe and other places, psychics are legally not allowed to say anything about health. Because they don't want to be responsible. Yeah, the law doesn't permit health or, I think, finances. There's certain things they can't do. Obviously, Tyler can because he gives lots of messages about health. But understandably, he said that makes me really nervous to tell people things about their health. And especially when it's something that personal. What do we think about these triplets?
Well, wait, let's go back to the fact that he talks about people's health. Rewind to when he told Alan Thicke about his health problems, and then he ends up going. Like, if you're not a believer after that, like, that must have been a very awkward situation for him to read him and then to find out, like, oh, wow, like, he's gone.
Well, but ironically, if anybody is not going to feel responsible or at fault in any way, it's Tyler. Because he's like, I just said the information that was there.
Yeah, and you're supposed to act on it.
If anything, maybe he could feel like I needed to give him that warning so he knew that it was almost time and he could really use his last days wisely.
That's a good perception take on it.
I feel like that's a very Tyler take on it.
Yeah.
Because Tyler doesn't have guilt. Do you notice this? I think it's so refreshing. Tyler doesn't have guilt anywhere in this process. He's like, they don't feel guilty. You don't need to feel guilty. Everyone's good.
Yeah, Drew was mentioning that. Like, why is he so
He's very chipper
happy
about death.
when he's, like, talking about it? It's like, yeah, really great energy is coming through. A really, really great energy. And it's a very high energy. And it's like, maybe he just feels the energy that's coming through, so then he communicates that same exact way. Because he's a medium, so he's transferring over the communication from one source to another.
Yeah. I think it's good that he's so I hate that I keep saying chipper about death, but I think it's good that he has this positive outlook on it, because I feel like it helps, like, the people that he's helping have a positive outlook on it. That it's, like, not an ending, but, like, a new chapter, if you will.
I also think it's just real. Like, I don't think he's doing it because he thinks it's going to help the situation.
Yeah.
I just think in his experience, he's talking to live people. They're talking to him. He's experiencing their personality and their presence. So why would he be sad? He's not at a funeral. I think he tries to be respectful of the family and the people grieving. But they're alive to Tyler.
Yeah.
So he's talking to some fun people.
I think it's like cute when he's like, oh, thank you for acknowledging that. Let me just acknowledge this real quick. Thank you. And then he's like scribbling, and I'm like, that's so cool.
So a lot came through for Dr. Drew. What did you guys like or remember most about this reading, for specifically on his side?
The China reading was really big, just because I was a really big fan of China growing up. I was, like, not in WWE at all, except for her. So I was pretty bummed when she passed, but I remember him having such a, like, they had, I want to say they did a show or something together, but they had a really public like relationship. Like people knew that he was helping her, but it was very like personal, and you could tell that like particularly like really struck a chord in him. And I think that was like the final straw for him. Like, okay.
Yeah.
For me, I like the part about how, they talked about how one of the triplets, the son, had his grandfather looking after him, and there was a very special bond between them. I thought that one was very special.
Yeah, that's really sweet.
The brain surgery for
The son.
the triplet,
Douglas.
that is is an eerily specific thing. I mean, I think, as per usual with Tyler, the skeptics get more eerie details because they need it, and their loved ones know that they need it. I was glad that this message came through of just kind of an acknowledgement that they really did try to help her.
Yeah.
And there's only so much you can do when the person doesn't want help. And I think it's those kind of messages that are good for America to hear, because so many people deal with addiction issues. So many people have had someone pass, and it's hard. I mean, you really can't, you can only do so much, especially when the person is resistant to your efforts to help them.
Absolutely.
I think it was good closure for him when it came through as, I'm sorry, you know what I mean? To not have taken advantage of all these opportunities that you presented to me. So I think that might have been a good closure for him. And, having interviewed Dr. Drew personally, one-on-one, he's a very like sentimental, intimate guy. Like when you're speaking to him, you're speaking to him, and you're getting the whole him. And he's true-hearted about everything that he does. And you can see that in this episode. He portrays that. The tears start welling up in his eyes when he starts talking about China. And then when he comes back to the interview to talk about China from his own perspective, it was just, I think that was a good closure for him, because I think that's something that he needed. Even his wife said he never really had closure on it.
Yeah. Well, as much as I really could talk about this reading all day, because it was a beautiful reading for them as a family. But I want to make sure we have plenty of time for the shocking Lil Kim reading.
Yes.
So we'll just get out of the way. There was the grandma that came through and the heart problems, and that was a nice little appetizer of the reading.
Look at you just easily
That was cute.
dismiss
That was
that.
cute.
I'm not dismissing it. It's just we have so much to talk about, and I know fans at home don't want to talk about the Grandma Mary. So let's get into it.
You know what? Hold on. I got one thing to say. Miss Evans, Miss Faith, if you're watching, I need you to tweet me. We have plenty of time. The Russell Ray, I want to know how you feel about Biggie coming through to Lil Kim, and why does she have his lambskin jacket? Why does she have his Persian lambskin jacket still? And soulmate. He said that was his soulmate when he has a baby with you. Tweet me as soon as you can on that. Let's go ahead and continue.
Babies do not mean soulmates.
Okay, but he fought for her to come back into his life after he cheated on her.
There is some real messiness. The Lil Kim, Faith Evans, Biggie Smalls love triangle is one of the biggest love triangles I feel like in music history. And so for Biggie, big old self, to come back and be like, hey, Lil Kim, you the one. If I was Faith Evans, I'd feel some type of way.
Can we talk about this? Not in a because I'm a 100% believer of Tyler. Not in that skepticism sense. Do we think Tyler is aware of the history? Obviously, he knows who Lil Kim is. Do we think he's aware of the history before this reading?
I don't think so, because I feel like...
Let's get Faith Evans on the show and find out.
Well,
Miss
Russell
Evans,
gave
I
the
just told you,
invitation.
The
Do
Russell Ray
that.
_ in between. If you don't have Twitter, go ahead and get me on Instagram. Russell Ray Silva. Zoom in on this, producers, because I really wanted to hear this. Come at Faith. I need to know. Go ahead.
Well, because here's my thing. The reading felt so calm and sweet and even hallmarky for talking about a shooting that was very notorious, pun intended. But also, B, I'm glad that you appreciated that, Mina. We've been making terrible jokes all night.
No one appreciates my fun.
I know. So thank you for standing in the gap for me. But A, for talking about a shooting, it was very light and graceful of a reading. But B, this is some serious tea.
Yeah.
For the reading to be so airy-fairy romantic, I was like, this is
That's why
a
I don't
serious
think he
drama
knows.
love triangle going on. So I believe Tyler may not have known what he stepped into.
Yeah, because he was
That's hard.
real calm. And she was real calm, too. Like,
She didn't want to ruin her makeup, she said.
You know what? Lil Kim was so composed to what the media has portrayed her so much over the years.
love Lil'
She was
Kim.
so laid back, like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to meet you,
That's my
Tyler. And I
girl.
was like, how nice. Like, I was expecting this whole different person. I'm expecting
But
the
this-
stage persona of her.
This show brings out. I mean, do you remember Patty Stanger, the $1 Million Matchmaker?
love her.
It brought out
Love
a
Patty.
different
Love
side of
her.
her. Like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
show brings out the vulnerable side of people that has grief and pain and questions and. No, I loved this reading. I
too.
loved seeing this side
Yeah.
of her. So, okay, so Biggie comes through. First of all, the word soulmate, like the drama from minute one.
No.
And then an apology.
Okay, yes.
I mean, it made for great TV. What are we thinking about this?
I, first of all, love Lil' Kim. So if you're watching this, I love you. But since, Faith Evans is also watching, I love you too. So they
Don't wanna
fight over
take
that.
sides,
Yeah, I don't want
Drew.
to take sides.
They're both good at what they do.
They're both amazing.
Excellent, yeah.
But I just felt like I am a really big Biggie fan as well. So I've, watched a lot of documentaries about the whole situation, and I've watched Notorious, the movie, and watched a lot of stuff about them. And I just feel like Lil' Kim was done so dirty back then.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and kind of was like made a public mockery. And so for him to come back and be like, I'm sorry, like, for not being loyal and for having these commitment issues and for doing you wrong, like, I think if I was her, that would be something I really would like to hear.
Okay, so everybody in this world deserves to have a full circle moment, right? Whether you've been done wrong, and now the good is coming, and and all that work that you put in, and all that hard part in the middle that you put in has finally came back to pay you in the respects that you deserve or earned. I don't believe in deserving, earned. But he did Lil' Kim so wrong, like wrong. He got with her, discovered her talent, was with her, messing around with her, then found Faith. By the way, I still love both of them. And Faith is just as talented in she's a vocalist, Lil' Kim's a rapper.
Yeah.
Just as talented. And then, after he cheats on Faith, he begs for her to come back. He ain't begging for Lil' Kim. But Tyler's gonna come through and say that that's his soulmate? I don't know how I feel about that.
Okay.
This feels like Dr.
Love
Phil
and
right
hip-hop.
now.
I need to talk to Biggie.
Well,
The original Love and Hip Hop.
well, is it possible he made some unfortunate choices and caught up in some self-created drama while he was here, but his soul, having moved on and been at his highest
Has
self,
matured.
at least, I don't know, the soulmate thing pushes it just a little bit.
Hard.
But I think it's very believable that his highest self, in whatever realm, having connected back to love, is like, you know what, I really treated you badly, and you deserve an apology for that. I think that's very believable.
And friendly reminder that he was only, 24 years old when he
24.
passed.
Yeah.
I don't know how many 24-year-old men y'all know.
And it's a real
But
thing that
got it
sometimes people leave somebody and then realize I made a mistake, especially later on in life with like an adult perspective, seeing how everything played out. And this isn't even an adult perspective. This is like your highest self in the next dimension perspective. So it's hard to put words to that.
Yeah.
But I thought it was good for her. I think it was healing for her, if nothing else.
Super healing.
Drama
I
causing
don't-
television, but maybe still healing.
I don't know how I feel about the word soulmate, but thinking about it, maybe it's more or less of like the way to say they were two peas in a pod. Like, I think my best friend is my soulmate, but we're not together relationship or romantically.
Were you ever?
You see what I'm saying? Huh?
Were you ever?
No.
That's very true.
I would
Soulmate
never in a million years. The
isn't-
best person in my life.
isn't necessarily a romantic thing. Soulmate is just kind of like a...
But
when a heterosexual male says it to a female,
I don't know, because I have a guy best friend, and I would say, and I'm sure he would say also, that we are soulmates, but not in that
so
sense
that's
whatsoever.
that's why I
way.
make the distinction between soul friend and soulmate. There is a difference.
I ain't never used that word soul friend
Soul
in my
friend,
whole life.
soul
I had a
friend,
soul swipe.
soul.
It's
Soul Swipe?
it's-
Is that
Soul
a dating
food.
app for conscious people?
no, it's for black people Tinder.
Is
Oh
it
my
really?
goodness.
I've never heard of
It's
this.
a real thing.
I've heard of it.
I've never heard of that.
I just found out about it, and it is hilarious.
Wow. Well, you learn new things every day. And yes.
Anyway.
the bottom line is, though, I think if he used the word soulmate, he is acknowledging I made a mistake in life. But that wouldn't, again, that doesn't surprise me because obviously this is a more dramatic reading. But the whole season, people come through and are like, I made a mistake.
Yeah, no
so
big
why couldn't he make a mistake in romance and then come back and say, you know, oops. Sorry, oops and sorry.
Well, I guess I can see where you're coming from because, like, he did watch this whole lifespan of Lil' Kim and everyone else that he was involved with while he was here on Earth. He's been there through this whole entire process, so he's been obviously through the ups and the downs with them, and maybe he's seen all the hurt. You know, through the years that it affected her multiple years. Maybe it didn't affect Faith that hard, and she moved on real quick, and it was good, and she had her peace. And maybe Lil' Kim just suffered and cried and just really, really just push people away or something, and that's why he has that such regret and sorrow for her.
I do think he now sees where they're all at in this moment. So I don't know where Faith is at right now, but
oh, my phone just buzzed. Hold on. Oh, it ain't Faith. I thought it was you, girl.
But it is clear that she still cares for him a lot.
Absolutely.
And so maybe, can you imagine having this perspective outside of time where you can see the two people? And what if he's looking on and he's like, wait, this is the one that really misses me, or this is the one that really cared for me more? Yeah. We don't know. But she clearly still does care for him a lot.
Also, I don't know if anyone else caught this. She said that she has new music with him coming out.
And Faith just did music in July.
I thought that was a very intentional plug.
Yeah, but I'm here. But here's the thing: I'm here for it.
I'm all over that.
Right? No, I'm not mad about that plug. Well, I'll take that plug over Lisa Vanderpump's restaurant plug.
Oh my
any
gosh.
day. And I love that place, but that was a little much.
Do you know what I thought was the sweetest thing about the Lil' Kim Biggie thing was when at the very end, the very conclusion of that was how Tyler said that Biggie emphasized that he learned to love properly because of Lil' Kim.
I know that she taught him what love was.
That was Nicholas.
Yeah,
adorable.
It really was.
Cute.
It was so beautiful.
But let me just ask you guys, have you guys been in a relationship and look at
we're ending here.
No. Have you looked in your past and like, that person really did love me and I did mess up, but I'm okay in the relationship that I am now and I love this person that I'm with now?
No, but
because I've had that.
Me.
What?
Just kidding.
I think it's
always perfect.
I think I've had 2 times a situation where I looked back and I realized we did genuinely love each other and the timing was so wrong.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. Or just we're different people now and thank God it's not that. But I think it's, to look back and be like, that really was love there and I really do honor that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was just full circle moment.
Yeah,
for
her.
Full circle moment.
I love to watch people have full circle moments because it brings them closure, brings them peace, happiness, all the butterflies and everything that you could possibly get out of that. And I love
and she was so genuinely surprised by it because she's like, I was way younger than Notorious, It's so weird that she taught him something when he was so much older, but I really don't think age has to do with it. It was probably maturity too at the time.
Also,
I agree.
I want, and I said this earlier, I want a Tyler, Lil' Kim-esque, like, not rom-com, but, like, best friend comedy film, like, based off of those two, because their dynamic was so
I'm here for that. Or a reality spinoff.
Oh, my, yeah.
Can we get a spinoff where it's, like, their lives mixed with the readings? I would do that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, we gotta wrap, but it really has been.
Wait, literally rap? Like a rap song?
Oh, do you want to? I have some lyrics.
With
Hold on,
the
ready?
puns.
That was not intentional, but thank you for making yet another
I
cheesy
pick up
joke.
on it.
You
I pick
just
up on
pick up
it.
on the
I
spirit
do.
of the cheese.
Wait. Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. This is the moment.
This is your moment to shine.
I just thought, yeah, I think you guys already touched on this, but I just thought it was really cute when, Tyler said loving you was my greatest accomplishment of my soul.
Aww.
And I think for anybody to say that.
For anybody to hear that. Whew.
I think that's what we all want to hear.
I want to hear who shot Biggie, is what I want to hear.
That's a good point. She knows who did it.
It was danced around. That was very intentional how that was handled.
Absolutely. Yes, all tea and all shade.
We may not have gotten the details, but she got her moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so many full circle moments all season long. Thank you for watching Hollywood Medium After Show all season with us. Tell the people where they can find you on social media as we say goodbye one more time.
Hey guys, in a couple of weeks, I'm getting my Instagram back, and you will be able to follow me on Mina Makes Magic.
All right, guys, you can follow me on Instagram at Russell Ray Silva and on Twitter at the Russell Ray, underscores in between, 2 S's, 2 L's, the Italian stallion, and here's my girl.
Snap. And you can follow me at OKDrewJ on Twitter and Instagram. Bye.
Do you guys have any other after shows that they can find you on right now?
The Voice.
Russell's on The Voice.
Yes,
I'd like
25th.
She has one coming this fall.
One coming up, so we'll see.
Amazing. And I'm Stephen Lovegrove. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dr. Lovegrove. And I will be back at the AfterBuzz Studios tomorrow night for any of you who watch Boy Band. Season finale tomorrow night. We'll be here. And Mondays at Chesapeake Shores after show. So all the after shows, tune in for The Voice, tune in for hers surprise show coming this fall.
DVR report.
And stay open. That's a good theme for after the season, right?
I like it.
Stay open, you guys. We'll see you next season.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz. See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.